think we should be good to just ask if members of the public were, unless there was a piece of this that they want to have displayed if there's no presentation, as far as
Okay.
council receiving.
So we don't have a report to.
It's generally, your worship, not a report that we would speak to, and if there's some questions from council or public on the report itself.
Councillor Thompson.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I would move that council receive the 2014 annual report and consider questions and submissions from the public.
Do I have a second on that? Councillor Krog. Open for discussion or debate. Does anyone have any questions?
Somebody's got to ask something.
Councillor Butler.
I'm just curious, through you, Mr. Mayor, to our staff, on here, there's a list of organizations that are tax exempt, and I'm just curious the criteria for tax exemptions.
Mr. Mayor, every year there's a tax exemption bylaw that comes out. I believe it gets adopted at the end of October. Members of organizations that would fall under the community charter can make an application to council, and it's brought before council for the days prior to the adoption, and then council considers whether or not they approve any tax exemptions on certain organizations. It's something that it's done by application, and that's how it's put into council. There's usually a deadline if you bring those in, and then it gets considered as a bylaw.
Does anyone else have any questions? Gentleman in the back.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm wondering about the schedules
Would
that,
you be able to identify yourself, please? Have your name, please.
my name is Donald Ferrand, and I'm wondering, should all the schedules, the detailed schedules of expenditures with the different contractors not appear in this report, or is that separate?
Direct it to our staff.
Mr. Mayor, by legislative requirements, we are required to put in the audited statements as what you see before you in the annual report. I believe that the piece that Mr. Ferrand is referring to is the part that comes from the statement of financial income, which is a different report altogether.
Councillor Thompson.
Yes, I believe you're referring to the SOFA report, which is on the agenda later in the regular meeting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do I have any other questions? So all in favor of that motion? So carried. We'll move on to adopt the agenda. June 29th regular meeting agenda. The recommendation is council adopt the June 29th regular meeting agenda as presented. May I have a motion to that? Is Councillor Butler, Councillor Ross, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. On the agenda, my first report from the June 4th meeting, I combined that with my report for tonight, so that report could be deleted from the agenda.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns?
Do we have to vote to amend the agenda to reflect that?
So you wish that, could you, okay.
So I'll second.
All in favor of the amended agenda? So carried. Our next item is adopting of the minutes. June 15, 2015, Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. The council adopts these minutes. May I have a motion? So Councillor Krog, may I have a seconder?
Well,
Councillor Thompson. Any, Councillor Butler?
I have a couple amendments to the agenda, Mr. Mayor. Minutes. On page 76 in these minutes, it states that I made a motion and resolved that Committee of the Whole recommends council to choose one of the options and direct staff to proceed accordingly. That was in regards to the urban systems report for water meters, and I never made any such motion, nor was any motion like that defeated, so I'd like that stricken from the minutes, please. And I'll second that. I'll make two motions.
So all in favor of the amended motion to adopt the minutes?
Is it two?
By
Yeah, I'll make it as
First one.
two separate.
two separate. Are you making an amendment to the same one?
To the same meeting, yes, but two separate items.
I would make it one motion
Okay.
and just do two parts. There's no.
Okay, carry on, Councilor Butler.
Also on page 77, it stated that the CAO stated that the monitoring by the fire chief reported that there's a 99% deficiency of water this year. And I don't think that reflects accurately. We're not 99% deficient in water. We still have water out there. So it was actually, we were 1% of normal snowpack readings and 99% deficient of where we normally are, which is how he stated it. I went back and looked on the video, so. 75% normal snowpack, but it just melted earlier than normal. So just again for staff for clarification, it was stated that we're at 1% of our normal snowpack readings, which is 99% deficient of where we normally are.
May I have a seconder on that amended motion? All in favor? So carried. Our next item is the minutes for the regular meeting of June the 15th. I have a motion that council adopts the June 15th regular meeting minutes. Councilor Ross, Councilor Butler. Councilor Butler.
I'd like to amend the minutes to record that Councillor Vershegen was absent from that meeting.
I have a seconder on that amendment. Councilor Ross. All in favor of the amended agenda? Minutes? So carried.
We know what you mean.
Just
Councilor Thompson.
Just a point of clarification, with Councilor Vershegen not being listed as being present, you still want to have that actually recorded as an absentee on the minutes?
Councilor Butler.
That's how it's shown on the other reports, so I just wanted consistency.
Okay, moving along to our reports, questions, inquiries from members of council. We have our written reports from members of council, and the recommendation is that all written reports from members of council be received. And I have a motion to that effect. Please, Councilor Ross, Councilor Thompson. Any discussion or debate? Councilor Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had in my report, often I will add a motion, and I don't, there's my report. And I have a motion there about new source water protection bylaw. And it's not that I expect it to come to the floor tonight. I mean, that is the will of the council. Should as the meeting progress, we feel that's something we want to do. I just want to be clear that this is something I think we need to consider. That we do need to look at source water protection. As I do some work, looking at the environmental impacts that are happening around Gilpin and around the rivers that we have here, that we are going to have to look at riparian issues, and we need to look at the livestock access to our waterways. And we need to mimic source water protection that I know is in place and is enforced in other jurisdictions. And if we can't rely on the province to bring down our source water protection, that there's something that we could propose that we look at doing within the city. So I just have that there for information, and we can perhaps dig it out later on and something we can work on.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns or debate? Councilor Thompson.
Yeah, I think your motion is excellent, and Could I make a suggestion that this be considered a notice of motion and that it be put on our July 20th committee of the whole meeting for discussion and referral to the next regular meeting?
Councillor Ross?
Mr. Mayor, I would entertain having this motion referred to a meeting in the future. Once we do bring it up and discuss it, we may refer it again. I think it's prudent for us to potentially work with and speak further with organizations that already exist in the region that are sort of the Kettle River Watershed Management Plan, the Gilpin Grasslands Group, the Local Trails Association, who have all been talking about the issues that this will address. I'm concerned that it might be a little premature, but I do think it's something that we need to start talking about and having an intelligent conversation about. And it doesn't mean we can't talk about it and refer it, but I don't want to refer it back to staff. But I do want the community to know that it's something that we're taking seriously.
Councillor Butler?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Ross. I do appreciate the intention of this motion, and I just have a couple questions on it. When I was thinking about the Granby and Kettle Rivers within Grand Forks, I can't think of anything within our boundaries on the Granby where there's livestock grazing in the Granby River. And I know in Johnson's Flat there might be some issues, but I'm just wondering if we could have maybe some more information on how many farmers this might affect and what this is actually doing right now within the Grand Forks city limits. I like the idea of this motion to set a precedent for the surrounding area, but I just need more information on the farms that we will be affecting by this.
Okay, so we have a question on the table. All in favor of receiving the council's reports? So carried. Councillor Thompson?
Thank you. Through you to Councillor Ross, should we ask the mayor to strike an ad hoc committee to deal with this or not, or just work together with those other organizations to meet and to draft something that's going to be appropriate?
Councillor Ross?
As a person who is supposed to be the chair of the environmental committee, I consider myself the environmental liaison because there are a lot of organizations already doing environmental work within our jurisdiction, and I'm attending those meetings. I think it's more appropriate that we continue to support the groups that are already doing this work rather than strike an ad hoc committee and invite people that are already doing that work and voluntarily to attend their meetings. I think it's more prudent for us to just attend their meetings for information rather than invite them to more meetings. And so that's how I'm moving forward with this right now. So I'm the official environmental liaison person. Well, I've appointed myself. Okay.
Right now we have our report from our council's representative to the regional district Kootenay boundary. A verbal report from Councillor Krog on the activities of regional district Kootenay boundary to be received. May I have a motion for that? Or first have your report. You have a report, Councillor Krog.
A very short one. There was a meeting on the 18th, and the item which was going to be referred to that meeting from the Waste Committee, which was removal of the bins, was not on that agenda. So basically they're just holding back and giving us time before it actually comes to the agenda. And that's about it.
Thank you for your report. So, may I have a motion to have that report received? Councillor Ross, second by Councillor Thompson. Unless there's any discussion or debate, whether there is.
Oh, no, sorry, all in favor.
All in favor? So carried. We have now recommendations from staff for decisions, statement of financial information, the SOFI report. And the motion is that council receive the chief financial officer's report and further approves the statement of financial information, SOFI, for the city of Grand Forks as of December 31st, 2014. Councillor Thompson. Councillor Croggs, discussion, Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Within this report, it talks about the statement and severance agreements that were made in 2014. And I'd just like to know what fund the severance agreement came out of. I believe it'd be an operational fund, but I'm just wondering specifically where that would show up in this report.
Mr. Mayor, I would have to refer that question over to our CFO. She would be the one that would be able to give a factual answer on that.
Yeah, she's not present tonight, is she? Councillor Butler.
Mr. Mayor, could I please ask that that information be emailed to me when it's available? Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Councillor Butler.
Under the list of companies that we paid money out to this year, it's included in there the Neptune Technology Group for $539,000 and change. Within our 2014 carry forward projects, it stated that we paid about $705,000 for the water meter project so far. So I'm just wondering the difference of $166,000, where that money was paid to? Is it 500,000 went to Neptune and we spent 700,000? I'm just wondering what the other amount was for.
Mr. Mayor, again, I would have to check with CFO on that. I know that there's amounts, like there's holdbacks and different things, and so I know that there's a few different amounts that are still coming to them. So this would show them the amount that they would have received at the end of the year. But I could refer to the CFO and just clarify that that's what that is. Thanks.
Any other questions or concerns? In that case, all in favor, approve the statement, so carried. Under our information items, there's the meeting request with Premier Christy Clark and provincial cabinet ministers, and the recommendation is that council receive for information and note should they wish to meet with the Premier. And I have a motion to that effect. Councillor Butler. Councillor Thompson. Discussion. Councillor Thompson.
What is the deadline for us to make decisions on what ministries we want to meet with?
Mr. Mayor, usually I think it is around the end of July. I don't think we've received that information yet from them. This is kind of the preliminary, and so we've brought this to council. They don't, council doesn't necessarily have to make a decision tonight. It would be something that if there's some certain items that they'd like to have, there's going to be like about 4 separate ministers that we usually get as the preliminary. So at that point in time, then we can find out from council if there's anything that they would like to.
So we just need to be thinking about okay, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? All in favor of that motion? So carried. The second information item is the meeting request with Minister of Community, Sport and Cultural Development, and the recommendation is the council receive for information and note should they wish to meet with the minister. May I have a motion to that effect? Councillor Butler. Councillor Thompson. Again, any questions or debate? All in favor of that motion? So carried. Our next item is the C3 Alliance Corporation. Topic item is the second annual Resource Breakfast Series invitation. And the recommendation is that mayor and council advise staff which breakfast they wish to attend and which 2 members would attend. May I have a motion to that effect? Councillor Crog, Councillor Thompson. Any questions or debate? All in favor of that motion? That's a great question. Who is willing to go? And which one?
Right.
I'll go, but I'll probably get escorted over the room.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Oh my God, I'd like to go and have breakfast with Bill Bennett. Sorry.
Say it again.
You could go visit Rich Coleman. He's so much
I'll have
nicer.
breakfast with Bill Bennett. I regret it.
Well, I won't volunteer to go to that one.
I shall. Oh, yeah.
Um,
volunteering?
no, not at all.
So,
I actually find it a bit uncomfortable when we go to some of these conventions, well, all of the conventions and the sponsorship from big business. Whining and dining us, I'm not comfortable with it.
so does the council wish to advise staff at a later time, rather than this
This isn't
evening?
business, this is
Yeah,
political.
So all in favor of that motion?
It's just first come, first served. You
Yeah.
just have to show up. See how bad you are.
On the second page there, it asks if we could please RSVP and specify which events. So I think they would expect some sort of response from us if there was anybody planning on attending.
Could we do that correspondence by email to staff? So the decision doesn't have to be made this evening. Okay. So again, all in favor of that motion?
what was the,
To accept
The recommendation is that mayor and council advise staff which breakfast they wish to attend and which two members would be attending. That's the motion that's on the table.
Yeah, and I'm going to the Bill Bennett breakfast.
RSVP for second breakfast. With Steve Thompson.
I'll reserve my opinion until later.
They read about the breakfast in the newspaper.
So once again, all in favor of that motion? So carried. Moving right along now to our bylaws section of the meeting. And manager of building and inspection and bylaw services, the introduction of the noise control bylaw amendment. And is our manager of building inspection here to present the,
No, Mr. Mayor, what this change to the bylaw suggesting and proposing to council is it's more or less like a housekeeping one, in as much as that we have industry that goes beyond the times, and the industry has been there, I think, since 1948, and our bylaws have never reflected the fact. So in order to be in alignment with the bylaw, it was just something that staff suggested to council to consider to include that into the bylaw.
Councillor Thompson?
I just think it's important to note that the sawmill was there long before the Ruckles Addition came into being part of the city of Grand Forks, so they were there first.
So the motion I would ask from council is to receive the report from the bylaw enforcement officer and determine to discuss and further direct staff to present to council to consider the first three readings at the July 20th regular meeting of council. So may I have a motion to that effect?
we need a motion on the floor before we
Yeah.
can discuss.
Yeah.
Councillor Crog, do I have a second, or Councillor Thompson? Now we can debate. Councillor Crog?
Yeah, with the correction that was put there, or that I had suggested under I, 2 subsection I, and it says, according to the least and most up-to-date, that should be the latest and most up-to-date scientific methods. So change before it does come would be good, because I don't know what that other sentence would mean.
What page was that?
160.
Right there, whatever page that is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a typo. Should be latest, not least.
So it's a clerical error, so duly noted, and staff will correct that when presented back to council. Councillor Butler?
I'm just wondering if there's any concern where it says any business in accordance with the zoning bylaws. Could that then be any business that's out there making money that starts up a chainsaw or, is that really too broad? Is that gonna leave a big loophole?
Well, I think, Mr. Mayor, as far as any business, it would be a business that would have to be conservative to that particular zone. And so if it's zoned industrial, it would be a business that would do that. I believe that if there was a business that had something that was way undue in the noise, when they come to do a development permit, it would be addressed to council at that point in time. And so if there was something that maybe went against what council wanted, that would be when they would come to present.
So presently, our zoning bylaws work in conjunction with the noise bylaws.
That's correct.
Any other questions? Councillor Crock?
Yeah, just a comment on Councillor Thompson's comment about the sawmill being there before Ruckel became part of the city. Actually, Ruckel was there, not part of the city, but was there before the sawmill was allowed to build there because of the exchange with the city, and promises were made for sewer and stuff, and they never got their sewer. But keep in mind, this is not a sawmill issue, this is an industrial issue, because I'll tell you right now, I believe that Boundary Electric or that area was zoned long before Balmar was filled in. So it could affect all those residents as well. So it's anybody that borders industrial properties that can be affected by that change. That's it.
Councillor President?
So is this specifically then for just industrial zones? Or is it any small business zones?
Mr. Mayor, the clause in here says any business or industry established in accordance with the zoning bylaw. So it would be any business that would fall within the realm of what that zoning requirement is. And again, if there was anything that was new, they would still have to go through the development permit process in order for council to consider that. So there is still
Here's the condition.
there is a condition there.
Councillor Crock?
Just so everybody knows that it does say any business or industry established, right? So home-based businesses are allowed throughout basically all areas of the city, so any residential area. So as long as they are using the latest and most up-to-date scientific methods for abating, controlling, or limiting noise arising from the business conducted. So that's why noise bylaws are so hard, is because whatever you do for any industry, and when people think about heavy industry, don't forget light industry and home-based occupations all fit under that same.
That's what I'm getting at.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
But wouldn't it still be under the discretion of the bylaw officer? Should it be a home-based business and they are doing something out of the ordinary, the bylaw officer has the discretionary means to decide.
That'll be fun for him.
Yeah.
Be a test.
But there are some exemptions here as well. So the exemptions are pretty fair.
Very,
On page 6 of 6 of the and it talks about construction hours and just normal operating business hours, which is just common courtesy.
Yeah, that's where it should be.
Councillor Crowe?
The other thing is, I see attached are the decibel readings, and then there's some information from WorkSafe about sawmills and sawmill workers and what their DBAs are, and then they have the some samplings taken from our mill, and they actually show what sampling areas were. And this was done by the bylaw officer. I thought it was awesome because that's something we'd asked for. But I'd also asked that it be done not just in the afternoon, but in the evening as well. And I would still like to see that done. Now, I know if it's a issue of overtime for the bylaw officer or whatever the case may be, I would be willing to go out and take those readings if necessary. Because I do note that there's can be differences between daytime and nighttime.
Any other questions, sir? So all in favor of the motion to direct staff? So carried. Second item of bylaws is from the Chief Financial Officer. Bylaw 2016, year 2014 to 2018, the Financial Plan Amendment 2. And the recommendation is that council gives first three readings to the bylaw number 2016, year 2014-18, Financial Plan Amendment 2. And I have a motion. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Crog, discussion or debate. All in favor? So carried. We have no late items, so our next item is questions from the public and the media. Lady in the third row.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Mayor and councilors. I'm the Wild Safe BC Community Coordinator. My name is Bridie Todd. I just want to ask you a couple questions today because I was a little bit late to make a delegation to council, but I'm just asking for permission to attend some events that fall outside of the city limits, because currently my funding just is basically for events within the city limits, but I've been requested to attend a few events in Greenwood, so Founders Day being one of them, and the BC ATV Jamboree, and also Rock Creek Fall Fair. I know that Lori Grant went last year to the Fall Fair, and so basically I'm just bringing that to your attention to make note of the fact that my presence is being requested, and there might be an opportunity to ask for funding from the regional district of the Kootenay boundary areas D and E. So I just wanted to bring it up this way today because I was unable to make a delegation, but I'm planning on doing that for the next meeting. But there is an event happening on July the 11th, which is the Founders Day event in Greenwood, which I'm sure would be attended by some people in Grand Forks. And I think it would be a great opportunity for Wild Safe BC to go.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns in the gallery? Gentleman in the front row.
My name's Murray Rennie, and I just was wondering with your noise bylaw, if it's 40-some plus degrees outside and the person is building a house, can the person start early so that they can quit before the temperature gets unbearable?
It's a good question. Councillor Crog.
I believe there was or is a way to address that in the bylaw. I thought there was a section.
Probably comes under an exemption, right, or an exception?
Yeah, no, it's, but you can get a permit. It's not wanted to let's see, can be waived or varied by permit in writing, granting approval, in the interest, as it says, public health and safety, but yeah, that's, you see it a lot, especially with weather like this. You can't be roofing and stuff at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You're gonna have to do it really early, so.
So variance can be obtained. Okay. Councillor Thompson.
I think I know when my neighbor re-roofed their house and they came, they went through the neighborhood and got the concurrence of all the neighbors to agree with the fact that their contractor could start at 6 in the morning rather than 8. So.
But I would say it's still advisable to contact the city.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Any other questions?
quiet bunch tonight.
In this case, may I have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Ross. This meeting is adjourned.